Hi everyone, I'm Rebecca Virginia, and today I have brand new Christmas DIYs to share with you, a lot of them focusing on the true meaning of the holiday. First up, if you've been following along with my videos this year, I've gotten really into wreath making, so I had to make another one for the holiday season. I ended up doing this off screen. I cut 4 different types of ribbon into 8-inch strips, and I ended up needing 18 pieces of them. The rolls from the Dollar Tree only had 13 pieces in them, so I did end up using about a roll and a half of each type of ribbon. This is a super easy wreath to make. All that you have to do is grab the ribbon pieces and pinch them at the center, and then kind of just start putting them on top of one another in different directions. All of my ribbons had some wire in them. I think if you used unwired ribbon, it would be a lot more difficult because when I tie them all together, as you can see right here, I'm tying it with jute. It doesn't really matter if my ribbons slide around at all because they all have wire in it, so I'm able to pull them, kind of space them out better, manipulate the ribbon into the directions that I want to go, and that's just going to be a lot more difficult if your ribbon does not have wire in it. I like to dovetail the ends of my ribbon after I have already created my ribbon bunch. You could definitely do this in the beginning once you cut out all of those 8-inch strips, but once I have all the ribbons together and I've tied it with jute, I'm able to tell maybe which ribbons I want to be a little bit longer, if they're on the outside or if they're in the center and I want them shorter. So I like to do any cutting because once you do it, you can't, magically have the ribbon go back together. So I like to cut my ribbon once I already know how my bunch is going to look. That way I just make sure that I haven't taken off too much, or if I need to take off more, I'm able to do that in this instance. I'll show you again how I make the ribbon bunch. So I have my 4 pieces of different types of ribbon. Again, they're all 8 inches in length, and I'm just pinching them at the center and placing them diagonally from one another, kind of like a star formation. I decided that I like that Christmas plaid the best, so I put that on last, and it's kind of the final piece of ribbon. The ones that maybe you don't like as much or you want to be more in the background, like I have the plain gold and the plain red, you're gonna wanna put those ones down first because you're definitely going to be able to see whatever piece of ribbon you put on last a little bit more in your wreath. I'm using jute to tie my ribbons together, and I'm leaving the tails long because I'm going to use that same piece of jute that's holding together this ribbon bunch to tie the bunch onto the wreath form, which I'll show you in just a moment. And again, I'm just dovetailing all of my end pieces of the ribbon, different lengths, to see how I best like my ribbon bunch. I continued doing this process until I had used up all 13 ribbon pieces. Again, they were the 8-inch pieces. I got 13 out of one of the Dollar Tree spools, but once I had created my wreath, I realized it was a bit bare and I needed more. So I did end up going with about another half of a roll of ribbon from the Dollar Tree. So in the end, I used 18 pieces of 8-inch ribbon. This wreath form is available at the Dollar Tree all year long. It's not specific to Christmas, so it's a circular wreath, but you will notice there are 6 vertical pieces of metal. I'm calling those the crossbars, and on each of those, I'm going to tie a ribbon bunch. The jute that I had used to tie the ribbons together, I'm going to use the ends or the tails of those to adhere them onto the wreath form. While you watch me tie the rest of the ribbon bunches, I wanted to let you all know that today's video is part of an open playlist. It's called the Everything Merry playlist, and it's hosted by 6 Kids and a Glue Gun and Lady Red Crafting. They very kindly asked me to be the guest host this week, so thank you very much to both of them. I'm going to have their videos linked down below and the entire playlist, so if you can't get enough of the holiday DIYs, make sure to check out all of the other great creators in today's playlist. Now that I have my initial 6 bow bunches on my wreath, it's time to start filling them in. So in between each of the bunches that we have right here, I decided that I would probably take about 2 more bunches in between them, and that's when I figured out, as I kept adding them in, that 13 pieces wouldn't be quite enough, but 18 seemed to really fit the bill. So this is an easy part too. You're just going around and adding all of these ribbon bunches to your wreath. You can make it as full as you want. If you don't have enough ribbon, maybe you only had, the 4 spools from the Dollar Tree, you could add in other greenery, Dollar Tree florals. I also think some faux candies would be really cute, some ornaments. So there's lots you can do with this besides just ribbon. What I'm showing you now is what the wreath looked like with just those 4 initial spools of ribbon, and I had 2 sections that were a bit bare. So luckily I had picked up double the ribbons because I wasn't sure how many that I would need. So I went back in with these 4 spools. These are the ones that I used for this wreath, and I cut some more pieces so I'd be able to finish out my wreath. I couldn't decide what I wanted to go in the center of my wreath. I tried one of the faux candies that I made from last year, but I really liked the simplicity of the believe sign that the Dollar Tree had, but also kind of liked it bare. So let me know in the comments down below, which do you like better, just a plain ribbon wreath, or do you like it better with the believe saying on the inside? Next up, embracing the true meaning of the holiday season, I made this Holy Night ornament. I actually picked up this ornament sign at the end of the holiday season last year when they are 50% off. I really recommend doing that if you love making different types of signs like me. This Oh Holy Night music sheet, I will have the printable link down below. I found it for free off Pinterest, and I printed it in the landscape view so that it would be large enough to cover the entire ornament, and it did print on 2 sheets of paper. I'll show you how I put that together. To adhere it onto the wood sign, I just put down a light layer of Mod Podge and pressed the sheet in. Then with the second sheet of paper, since this printed out, I wanted to make sure that it was long enough for the ornament sign. So it did print on 2 different sheets of paper, but it was really easy to just cut it out and paste it kind of back together like a school project. Before I added back on the stainless steel ornament topper, I did want to dirty up the paper a little bit. It was looking way too crisp and white, and I wanted more of the rustic view. So I grabbed a damp paper towel and some stain. It's the Waverly Stain in Antique. I also used the stain on the 3 Wise Men wood cutout, which is in a pack at the Dollar Tree. And I thought it was looking a little bare, so I ended up taking the ornament topper back off and adding in some greenery, of course, also from the Dollar Tree, and adding that underneath the ornament topper before hot gluing on our 3 Wise Men onto the center of the sign. I love decorating my mantle for the Christmas season and was trying to think, usually I'm doing tablescapes, but I kind of wanted to do something that you'd be able to place on your mantle and have a mantelscape. So this is a really easy DIY. I just used a lot of different items from the Dollar Tree and the Target dollar spot. First up, one of these wood signs that actually came out during the fall season, so it's probably still out in your Dollar Tree since it is still technically fall. It said "Gathered Together" on it, and I tried painting over it, but didn't like how that came out, so I ended up just using some wood scrapbooking paper from Hobby Lobby and placing that over it, and I just used a glue stick. It didn't feel like getting out the hot glue or the Mod Podge for this craft, so I'm just using my Dollar Tree glue stick to adhere the paper onto our sign. I love all the different wood ornaments, wood pieces, wood stickers the Dollar Tree comes out with, especially these snowflakes. They were on a sticker sheet, so I painted it powder blue and attached it with one of these glue dots. Then using my cutting machine, I cut out the words hope in a metallic silver vinyl, but I actually think it would look even better if you picked up the wood letters from the Crafter Square section of the Dollar Tree. It would give it a more rustic look. Next, I adhered this church ornament onto the center of our hope sign and then added Dollar Tree florals, trees, and some Dollar Trees from the Target dollar spot to complete our mantelscape. I'm going to be coming out with a Christmas ornament DIY video in the very near future, but I thought this True Story SVG cutout just worked perfect for the theme of today's video, so I also wanted to show you all this. You can pick up the wood slice, which is the base of this ornament, in the Crafter's Square section. I always see them hanging there, so definitely snag them before it really becomes Christmas season. And I'm using a little bit of this red and white baker's twine to turn it into an ornament, and adding some little white and red balls onto the ornament as an embellishment. And I will have this True Story SVG file linked down below for all of you to use. I've had this plain wood door hanger in my craft stash for a while now and wasn't sure what to use it. Then I was checking out some Christmas DIYs for inspiration on Pinterest and saw that there's actually kind of a movement for people who don't have chimneys to create these door hangers with magical keys for Santa. So I thought that I would do one. I painted it red using the color Crimson by Waverly. And then I wanted to add a little bit of embellishment to it. So I actually picked up their polymer clay faux sprinkles from Amazon. I'll have those linked in my Amazon shop down below, and I wanted to add those to the top section of the door hanger. So I'm just putting down a layer of Mod Podge and then sprinkling on the faux clay sprinkles and waiting for that to dry before I moved on to adding in my saying. The final embellishment for this DIY was adding in the magic key. I know that the Dollar Tree sells the wood keys in the Crafter Square section, but I actually picked up a whole packet of these keys from Temu, so I thought this worked perfectly. And I did add a little bit of that red and white baker's twine. I just wrapped that around the key and tied it off in a bow. This is perfect if you don't have a chimney or if you live in an apartment, as a special way for your kids to welcome Santa into your home. Lastly, for today's video, I wanted to include one of my favorite DIYs from a couple of years ago because I felt it really fit the theme of the video. I hope that you enjoy this church DIY. To begin creating our church, I am taking 2 of the arrow signs from the Dollar Tree. The smaller wood arrow I did cut in half, and then the larger wood arrow we're going to be leaving as is. And I'm taking the shade Territorial Beige by Apple Barrel, and I'm doing that to paint the larger wood arrow sign. And then on the smaller arrow that I have cut into 2 pieces, I took a dark brown shade, but I actually ended up not liking how the dark brown came out. I thought it was looking too much like a haunted house. It was just coming out really dark and not at all the snowy chapel that I wanted. So I ended up actually flipping the smaller arrow over. I did like how the larger arrow came out when I added the darker brown color. It really kind of created a fake wood. Well, it was wood, but you know what I mean. It came looking out a little bit more barnwood. And then for the smaller arrows, I just flipped them over and painted them in a lighter brown. And then I went in with white paint and dry brushed it to again make it look like that barnwood that I have seen so many people making churches out of barnwood and pallet wood. I don't know where they got that from, but I didn't have access to that. So these Dollar Tree arrows had to work for me. And then I just hot glued the larger arrow on top of the 2 smaller ones, and you can see our church is starting to be created. For the cross that is going to be going at the top of the church, I took 2 toothpicks and I just snapped them in half to create our cross. And then I'm taking a silvery gray color, but I'm going to be covering this later in white paint to make it look nice and snowy. So really the color that you paint the cross doesn't really matter because we're going to be going over it with white paint. And then once this paint had dried, I added a bit of hot glue to, of course, create our cross. And in the meantime, while that paint is drying before I hot glue it together, I am using these tumbling tower blocks to create an awning that's going to be going over our church door. I didn't do anything to the blocks quite yet because first I'm going to be painting the church door, and I just kind of wanted to tell how large I needed to make the door. So I'm taking a dark brown paint, which is going to be the outline of our door. And then in just a moment, I'm going back in with white paint to create the actual door, not the frame. I painted the 2 tumbling tower blocks in the same Territorial Beige color. So while those were drying before I add them above my church door, I went ahead and hot glued the cross together, and then put a little hot glue at the bottom and placed that at the top of our church. Then I moved back to the church door area, and I am hot gluing the tumbling tower blocks to the top area of the door. And then I could have gone in with some white paint to give the snowy effect, but I had some white felt on hand, so at first I had cut out 2 different shapes, and I'm just trying to create the most realistic snow that I can. I ended up going with a larger piece instead of 2 smaller ones, and that is what I hot glue on top of the tumbling tower blocks. I also took some white paint and added it to the cross at the top of our church to make it look like it had a bunch of snow on it. I took my remaining white felt fabric and added it to the other edges of the church, adding it all the way at the top and on that middle section as well. The finishing touch was adding a bit of color to my snowy church. I found these ornaments from the Dollar Tree. You got 2 of them in a pack, and I thought they were so cute. So first I took off the ornament section, and I didn't want to mess up the tree, so I just kind of twisted and pulled, and that came off. And then I added some hot glue on the back as well as the bottom base, and I placed 2 trees opposite the door. I staged this on my mantle and included 2 of the larger flocked snowy Christmas trees from the Dollar Tree. Thanks so much for watching today's video, and make sure to check out all of the other creators and videos in the playlist linked in my description box. Until next time, keep searching, keep creating.